There's a name written in heaven right now that the angels know by heart, and you've been walking around for years pretending it isn't yours. You feel it when the room goes quiet. You feel it in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday, when something inside you stirs and you can't explain why. You feel it when you wake up at 3 in the morning with your heart pounding, and you swear someone just spoke your name in the dark. You're not imagining it. You never were. I need you to hear me before you click off this video. Because what's about to be said is not going to feel like content. It's going to feel like a mirror. And mirrors don't lie. My name is George, and I'm not here to entertain you tonight. I'm here because something in your spirit has been hungry for a long time. And the food it's been craving is the truth about who you actually are. Not who your family said you were. Not who your last failed relationship convinced you to be. Who heaven called you, before your mother ever held you. Let me tell you what an Omega-level chosen one actually is. Not in some watered-down, comfortable way. The truth. In the book of Revelation, there is a phrase that gets read past too quickly. Christ says, "I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end." The Alpha is the start. The Omega is the finish. And here is what most teachers will not say out loud. God does not only call people for the beginning of a thing. He raises up specific souls for the Omega, for the closing chapter, for the final assignment, for the work that has to be done when the lights are dimming and most people have already gone home. You are one of those souls. Out of every soul currently breathing on this planet, the hand of heaven moved through them, like a farmer separating wheat from chaff. Most names were passed over for this calling. Most lives were assigned other purposes, good purposes, faithful purposes, but not this one. And then there's you, the one heaven held back, the one heaven sealed, the one heaven is now beginning to reveal. Jeremiah heard those exact words. "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I set you apart." Set apart. Not invited, not considered, set apart. So let me give you the 8 signs, 8 markers that confirm what your spirit already suspects. And somewhere in the middle, I'm going to share something with you that changed the trajectory of my own walk. But we'll get there when the moment is right. Sign 1. You feel things in rooms before anyone says a word. You walk into a family gathering. You step into your workplace on a Monday morning. You sit down at a restaurant, and before a single mouth opens, you already know. You know who's hiding something. You know who's grieving without telling anyone. You know which marriage in that room is hanging by a thread. You can feel which coworker is about to be fired before HR has typed up the paperwork. You can sense when someone you love is lying to your face about being fine. People think you're just observant. You're not. You're operating in the same gift Elisha walked in when he told the king of Israel every move the king of Syria was making in his bedroom. The Syrian king thought he had a traitor in his ranks. He didn't. He had a prophet, 2 countries away, picking up his battle plans like a radio signal. Elisha wasn't spying. He was tuned in to a frequency most people don't even know exists. Omega-level chosen ones have that frequency built into them from the womb. You don't read rooms. You discern them. And here's what costs you the most when you try to explain it to people. They think you're paranoid. They think you're reading into things. They think you should give people the benefit of the doubt. So you stop talking about it. You stop telling your spouse what you sensed at dinner. You stop warning the friend who won't listen. And every single time, weeks later, months later, the thing you sensed comes out into the open, and everyone acts shocked. Everyone, except you. Sign 2. Animals respond to you in ways that make people uncomfortable. The neighbor's dog that barks at everyone quiets when you walk by. The cat that hides from guests walks straight to your lap. Birds land near you. Children's pets pick you out of a crowd. There's a reason. In the book of Daniel, when the prophet was thrown into the lion's den, those lions, animals, trained, hungry, and used to tearing men apart, laid down. They didn't just spare him. They sensed something. They recognized a covering, The king came running at dawn, expecting to find bones, and instead found Daniel sitting there in conversation with creatures that should have devoured him hours earlier. Animals see what humans have been trained to ignore. They don't argue with what they sense. They don't talk themselves out of it. When creation responds to you with peace, it's because creation recognizes who you carry. Don't dismiss it. It's a sign. The same God who made the lions lie down for Daniel is the God who's been arranging quiet little encounters between you and animals your whole life, just to keep reminding you that you're carrying something more than the average person walks around with. Sign 3. You've been carrying assignments since childhood that no one taught you. You were 3, 4, 5 years old, and you were already comforting adults. You were already mediating fights between your parents. You were already praying for people without knowing what prayer really was. Other kids were playing. You were observing. Other kids were learning the rules of the world. You were sensing the weight of it. You remember moments most children don't remember. You remember feeling responsible for the emotional temperature of your house at an age when you should have been worried about cartoons. Samuel was a small boy when the voice of God woke him in the night, and the priest Eli had to teach him what was already happening. The boy thought it was Eli calling him. 3 times he ran to the old man's bedside. 3 times Eli sent him back. And finally, Eli understood this wasn't a child looking for attention in the dark. This was heaven making first contact with someone it had marked from the womb. That story is in the Bible for a reason. Some chosen ones don't start at conversion. They start at the cradle. End quote. Their calling shows up before their teeth do. If you remember being unusually serious as a child, unusually aware, unusually burdened, that's not a personality trait. That's an early activation. And the adults around you, most of them, had no framework for what they were seeing. So, they called you sensitive. They called you mature for your age. They called you the responsible one. What they were actually looking at was a soul that had arrived on Earth already carrying assignments most grown men never accept in a lifetime. Sign 4. Repeated patterns of betrayal that don't make logical sense. You've been wondering for years why people you trusted turned. Why friends you would have died for suddenly went cold. Why family members who should have championed you became the first ones to wound you. Why the people closest to you, the ones who saw the gift in you, ended up resenting it. Stop blaming yourself. Stop replaying the conversations. Stop trying to figure out which sentence you said wrong, which look you gave, which boundary you set that triggered the freeze-out. Joseph was the favorite son of his father. He had dreams that didn't make sense to anyone, including himself. Dreams of stars bowing, dreams of sheaves of wheat standing in a circle around his. And the people closest to him, his own brothers, his own blood, threw him in a pit and sold him for the price of a slave. They told their father he was dead. They watched the old man tear his clothes and mourn for years, and they said nothing. That wasn't because Joseph did something wrong. That was because the assignment on his life required separation from a tribe that could not contain him. Egypt was waiting for him. A prison cell was waiting for him. A throne was waiting for him. And the only way to get him there was through a betrayal so deep it should have destroyed him. When the calling on you is Omega level, the people who were supposed to walk with you at the beginning often become the ones who push you toward your true destination. The betrayal isn't punishment. It's redirection. Heaven uses what looks like the worst day of your life to set up a meeting it scheduled before you were born. Sign 5. You've experienced moments of supernatural protection that you can't explain to anyone. The car accident that should have ended you but didn't. You walked away from metal that looked like aluminum foil. The illness the doctors couldn't account for that disappeared between one appointment and the next. The job loss that felt like death until you saw, 6 months later, what it pulled you out of. The wrong relationship that ended right before you would have stepped into something irreversible. The phone call you didn't take. The flight you didn't board. The neighborhood you almost moved into. You've stacked up these moments. You've held them in private because nobody else would understand. When you try to tell the story, it comes out smaller than it actually was. Listen to me carefully. The book of Psalms says, "He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways." Most people read that as a poetic image. For Omega-level chosen ones, it is operational reality. There are beings assigned to you. They have been working overtime since you were born. They have intervened in your life dozens of times. You'll only learn about when you cross over. And every time you've felt that strange, sudden pull to turn around, to leave early, to change your mind at the last second, that wasn't intuition. That was an angel making contact with your spirit. The same way the angel woke Peter in the prison cell the night before Herod was going to execute him. Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, chained on both sides. And an angel walked through the wall, struck him on the side and said, "Get up." The chains fell off. The doors opened by themselves. And Peter walked out of a death sentence, still thinking he was dreaming. You've had your own version of that. More than once. You just didn't have language for it. Sign 6. You hear your name when no one is calling you. You're in the shower. You're falling asleep. You're driving alone in the car. And you hear it clear, distinct, unmistakable. Your name. You stop. You listen. Nothing. And you wonder if you're losing your mind. You're not. Samuel heard his name 3 times before anyone explained to him that the voice was God's. Moses heard his name from a burning bush in a desert where he expected to die unknown, tending sheep. When heaven needs the attention of one of its operatives, it doesn't send a memo. It speaks the name. And here's the part most people miss. God only calls those he's about to commission. If you've been hearing your name, get ready. There's an assignment being released over you. And the calling out is just the front door of it. Some of you have heard it so many times you've stopped reacting. You've explained it away as tiredness, as imagination, as the house settling. But somewhere in you, you know the difference between a normal sound and that sound. The one that goes through your bones. The one that makes the room feel different for a few seconds afterward. That's not your mind playing tricks. That's the shepherd calling his sheep by name, the way Jesus said he would. Now I need to pause here, because if you're still watching, if you've felt your chest tighten on even one of these signs, the Spirit is doing something in this exact moment that I don't want you to miss. What you just experienced was not content. It was a mirror. And mirrors demand a decision. If you are ready to go to the root, to finally understand why you think, feel, and perceive differently from everyone around you. The secret protocol carries the 7 keys that reveal what God placed inside you before you ever drew your first breath. Full audiobook included for every moment of your day. Plus, the awakening map as a bonus. The 5 stages of spiritual awakening mapped with clarity, showing where you are right now and what the Spirit is releasing in this season. Link pinned in the first comment. Not for much longer, and you did not make it to the end without a reason. I built that resource because I needed it myself, years ago, when I was sitting where you might be sitting now, wondering, sensing, burning, and not knowing what to do with any of it. If something in you just sat up straighter, follow that. Heaven doesn't waste signals. Let's keep going. Sign 7. You carry an unusual reaction to certain music, certain words, certain scriptures. There are songs that wreck you, not because they're sad, because they touch something in you that has no name. There are passages in the Bible that you can't read without crying, even on a good day. There are words like covenant, like remnant, like calling that hit you in the chest, like physical contact. This is not emotional sensitivity. This is recognition. When King David danced before the Ark of the Covenant with such intensity that his own wife despised him for it, he wasn't performing. Something inside him recognized the presence in that room, and his body couldn't contain the response. Michal watched from the window and called him undignified. She didn't understand that what looked like loss of control was actually the deepest part of David answering the deepest part of God. Omega-level chosen ones have that same wiring. Worship doesn't move you because the song is good. It moves you because something eternal in you remembers who it belongs to. If certain music levels you, certain verses break you, certain words pierce you, that's not weakness. That's the deepest part of you confirming the deepest truth about you. And the people who roll their eyes when you cry during worship, they aren't bad people. They just don't have the wiring you have. You weren't made the same. You were never going to be the same. The sooner you stop apologizing for the way heaven built you, the sooner you'll step into the rooms where being built that way is exactly what's required. Sign 8. You've always known you were going to do something that matters, and the weight has nearly broken you. This is the one most people don't want to talk about. The weight of waiting. The years of feeling something stirring inside you with no place to release it. The promotions that didn't come. The ministries that didn't open. The marriages that didn't happen on the timeline you expected. The dreams you carried in private while watching less serious people get blessed in public. You watched people half as committed as you walk into the things you had been praying about for a decade. You watched people who treated their callings like hobbies get the platforms you had been preparing for in secret. And you didn't say anything. You smiled. You congratulated them. And you went home and asked God if he had forgotten where you lived. Listen to me. Moses spent 40 years in a desert before he was sent to deliver a nation. 40 years of sheep, 40 years of sand, 40 years of believing his time had already passed. He was raised in Pharaoh's palace, educated like royalty, prepared from infancy for greatness. And then he made one wrong move, killed an Egyptian, and ended up tending another man's livestock on the backside of a mountain. 40 years that looked, from the outside, like the complete failure of a wasted life. And then a bush caught fire on an ordinary afternoon, and everything he had been prepared for collapsed into one assignment that changed history. The weight isn't punishment. The weight is the forge. Omega-level chosen ones don't get launched early. They get launched ready. And when your bush catches fire, and it will every year you thought was wasted, will turn out to have been the exact training ground for the assignment now being placed in your hands. The desert wasn't God forgetting you. The desert was God forming you in private for what he was about to do in public. 8 signs, 8 confirmations, and every one of them stacking up like stones on an altar, telling you something you've been afraid to say out loud for years. You are not exaggerating. You are not making this up. You are not too spiritual or too emotional or too sensitive. You are not the problem in your family for seeing what others refuse to see. You are not crazy for hearing what others have trained themselves to ignore. You are an Omega-level chosen one, set apart before the foundation of the world, held back by heaven for a reason, refined in private for a release that is about to become public. Most souls walking this earth right now were not called to this. That's not pride talking. That's the structure of the kingdom. Some are gatekeepers, some are servants, some are soldiers, and some, a small remnant, are Omegas, carriers of the final assignments. People whose lives were sealed in heaven for a moment, exactly like the one this world is walking into. You weren't an afterthought. You were never one of the ones who failed to make the cut. You were one of the ones the Father pulled aside before the foundation of the world and said, "This one. I'll be needing this one for the last chapter." Paul wrote it like this: "He hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world." Chosen. Not invited later. Not added to the list when there was space. Chosen. Before there was a world for you to walk in. There's something else I want you to understand before you click off this video. Being an Omega-level chosen one is not a trophy. It's a weight. It's a responsibility. The reason most of your life has felt heavier than other people's lives is because most people are carrying a backpack, and you've been carrying a generation. The reason you've never been able to fully relax is because heaven has been holding you in a state of readiness. The reason loneliness has been such a familiar companion is because the assignment requires a level of separation most people would crack under. You haven't been overlooked, you've been positioned. There's a difference. And the moment you start seeing your life through that lens, Every difficult chapter starts making sense in reverse. David spent years in caves with men who were broken, in debt, and discontented before he ever wore a crown. Elijah ran for his life from a queen who wanted his head, and ended up in a cave so deep in despair, he asked God to let him die. Paul was beaten with rods, stoned, and left for dead, shipwrecked, imprisoned for years at a time. None of these men got to skip the wait. None of them got the calling without the cost. But every single one of them, on the other side of the wilderness, became someone the world could not ignore. That's what heaven is doing with you. The wilderness isn't a detour, it's the route. So here's what I'm asking you to do, and I want you to take this seriously. In the comments below, I want you to write the number of the sign that hit you the hardest, and one sentence about a specific moment in your life when that sign showed up. Not a general feeling. A specific moment. The dog that wouldn't leave your side the day your father died. The dream you had 3 nights before the accident. The name spoken in the dark of your bedroom when you were 9 years old. Be specific. Because something happens when chosen ones name their own confirmations out loud. Heaven moves on testimony. And the testimony you're about to type might be the thing that breaks open the next chapter for someone else reading this thread. I'll be in the comments reading, and I'll be praying over what you write. Because if you made it to this exact point in this exact video, there is no version of reality where that was random. You were never one of the many. You were always one of the few. And the next season of your life is going to make that undeniable not just to you, but to every single person who ever doubted what you were carrying. Get ready, chosen one. The hiding is over.